Hey there, you guys, and welcome back to Maverick Minded Realtors. Today, we are doing a part 2 of your tax protest because you should have protested your taxes. And if you didn't, then just ignore this. You're going to have to go and watch the next one. But this one is about what's next. So you're going to have to state your case and present that evidence, and we're here to help.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so you probably should have already responded to the thing you got in the mail about the value, where you're writing down, "I disagree." Now, what's happening now is they're all discussing and looking over them, and they're going to give you a value adjustment. That's going to be the next thing that happens. Now, if you decide to reject that value adjustment, this is the section that we're going to go into a little bit more detail on because we have a lot of questions about what it really looks like and what the best ways are to protest before the county appraisal district and make a case for yourself. So that's what we're focusing on, right?
Absolutely. And just so you know, like I know they do it different in different states, but in Texas, you can do it one of three ways. You can go in person and sit in front of like a panel of people, which is usually 3 to 4 people, and then somebody sitting there typing away. And then you in a room. And you can do it online. They've gotten really proficient with doing it online where you can opt to just do it in front of one person. So you're just talking to one person, or you can select a panel. So there's 3 different options. None of them seem to have more weight over another. So it's kind of whatever you're more comfortable with. Me personally, I'm going to do it from the computer. I don't want to have to make the trip.
Right.
So
And they did do them over the phone a lot. And I don't know if they're still doing it that way. Maybe that was just a COVID time frame.
I think that was a COVID in between, like
Okay, perfect.
figuring out their Zoom thing.
Perfect.
So
And so we're fortunate enough to have asked a
agent of mine who sat on the Tarrant County Tax Appraisal Board for 5 years and now works for a tax protest organization that you can send it to if you want it done professionally. And she gave us a little bit of insight. A lot of it is just kind of common sense and stuff that we've already been doing because we invest in real estate and have to protest this on a regular basis. So I got a little bit of insight from her, and we're just gonna like lay it out for you guys.
Yeah, so one of the questions I wanted to ask her is what's the most compelling evidence that you do see? What is it that you can present that's going to have your best chance at getting the value you actually want? So, what was her answer to that one?
Hers was basically you want to show comps. You want to show the comparative market analysis that you usually get from your realtors, or if you're a realtor, you can provide your own. However, it works a little bit better right now because things have calmed down a little bit when things were like freaking nuts and everything was overappraised and people were going crazy. Then these comps didn't help you whatsoever.
No, they didn't.
So it really depends on the market,
Yeah.
as to what's the most compelling. So obviously comps play a huge part. So you do want to get comps from your realtor. So make some friends, people. Make some friends.
And those comps might not necessarily be as detailed as you need. You might not have as many photos. You might not be able to know the exact condition. Sometimes realtors take those photos off. And so I'm really heavy on photos. I
Yep.
think it's something that is really big in addition to the comp. So if you do see a comp that is like your property, that's a lot higher than what you think it is or what you want it to be, that's where you're going to have a little bit more leverage in addition to the comps. Because sure, you can show, oh, maybe the appraiser is using something with the pool. You don't have one. Or maybe it was in a much better condition and you can argue that yours didn't. So that is kind of the first attempt that I think people make. But you might have to get a little bit more detailed if you don't have the comps that support that because the condition of your house just might not have anything nearby that makes sense to compare it to.
Exactly. And so start with the comps though, and then work your way into it, right?
Definitely.
Go around, take pictures of your home, all the disrepairs that you need, make note of them, like you and I discussed before, is also if you have more than one property, even if you just have one, but you want to categorize when I claimed that my roof needed to be redone,
Yeah.
or the retaining wall is going to have to be rebuilt, or I'm having foundation problem. If you claim that this year, you can't exactly use it next year. You want to keep track of all the things that
Unless you didn't get to it.
yeah. Well, and if you didn't get to
Which
it,
is
you can
fine.
add and then add the additional
Right.
damage that has happened because of that
Because you never
neglect.
fixed it, if
Yeah.
you get what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
So
but keep in mind too, I think it's super important to note all of the different ways that you can show that your property needs work. It's not just in cosmetic updates. It can be like physical deterioration, and functional obsolescence, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah, just the word itself.
Just the word itself, which technically just means that the way something was designed no longer works because of the way it's designed, and that it loses value in its functionality. And that could be something that might be expensive to repair or redesign or cost. It could be something like a pool system, or, I mean, it could be a
Yeah,
lot of
it
different
could be a
features,
lot of
an
different
intercom
things.
system on the house, or it
Yeah,
could be a lot of different features that might be dated or not. So that is something that I think a lot of people look over and don't consider. It's
yeah.
not just the cosmetic stuff.
Your garbage compactor that that is out in every house I've ever shown.
They never really do work, do
They
they?
never
My
work,
parents never
and
worked.
they stink.
Yeah, they do. And so there's also natural weather that happens. So don't be discouraged if you haven't made any updates, or maybe you don't think your house does. There's still wear and tear on your house with weather that you might not be aware of. So it actually sometimes might be beneficial to have an inspector come by, or something that can kind of bolster your argument about the condition of the house. Because again, you might not be able to just see it, and that would be compelling as well.
Really, it's do an exterior and interior evaluation of your house. Take extensive pictures of
Mhm.
everything that's wrong with it, because literally we are doing exactly opposite of what you would do if you're trying to sell your house. If you're trying to sell your house, we're showing you all the things that are fantastic and all the reasons why you want to buy this awesome piece of property. Now, whenever we're disputing our taxes, we're showing you exactly why our property is an
So,
absolute piece of crap.
so
And so,
mindset shift,
yeah,
people.
so
Mindset
like
shift.
that's what you're literally trying to show them, is that my house stinks compared to everything that you've got out there.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind when you're looking at everything.
And just a side note on this one too, keep in mind that if you bought a property, if you're an investor protesting, which we said in the first episode, but I want to reiterate that if you bought a property and it's new and you're protesting it this year, maybe you haven't gotten to it, maybe you're in the middle of renovating it. There could be a lot of different reasons. But if it was listed on the MLS, you can use that as evidence to submit to the county appraisal district. So you can actually bring your HUD and show what you bought for it, and they can possibly use that value. Now, if you bought it off market and don't have an MLS listing, I believe they're no longer accepting that.
Which stinks.
It stinks. They used to in the past, but they aren't doing that anymore. So another reason that the MLS could be a beneficial asset to you in putting them in there or buying off the MLS. So keep in mind that even though you bought it for that amount, I had this happen to me, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they're going to do it for. Now, I was able to get the value down significantly, even though my HUD was rejected, because I had photos of the property and it was a complete gut job. So he did me a favor and actually did get it down to the value because I had enough photos to show it.
Which is awesome.
So
And
yeah.
then the other thing with the surrounding area. So one of the things that a lot of people don't consider is if you live behind a shopping center, and maybe
Mhm.
the alley and the dumpster and all that's right there, or maybe you live next to a warehouse district, or maybe you live downwind from frickin' farms.
Waste management
Yeah, waste
system.
management or something. But these
Or a
are
hoarder
things
house.
that are external that you have zero control over that are always a factor. So, like my parents' house, for example, they live kind of out in the country. There are no zoning, no codes to where what you can build next to something else. And so every year that I dispute their taxes, I am disputing it with a lot of the same evidence because of the surrounding areas, because they're out in the country and literally they're a stone's throw away from a car wash and this and that. And, they've just got a lot of things that are around them that they can't, their property does not value the same as somebody that is 3 miles closer to town.
Right,
So,
absolutely. And I think a question that I had originally had when I had first gotten started in protesting my taxes were, how did they even come to the valuation? That was a good
mhm.
insight because that's something I learned this year. Are they driving by? Are they going into the house? What are they doing to determine what that market value actually is? Because I went through about 115 properties and looked at them, had to look them up, had to remember what they looked at. And one of our properties jumped significantly
Yeah.
from one year. And we were like, even the desirability factor went up. So it went from a poor condition to a great condition. So we actually called the county appraisal district, which you can do. So I believe we had asked her kind of how they come to the values and what that looks like. And she and Judy, who had worked for them, said that they actually drive by. They don't go inside. that means that you have a lot of leeway in what you present because they're not looking inside. They really don't know what they're looking for. One of our particular properties, they said that it jumped value because we put new windows in, which we did not.
Yeah.
We just
People
cleaned them
make
really well.
mistakes. Yeah. Now you can see through them.
We just know how to clean windows really well. And so a lot of people think they're brand new. It's a little skill set we have, to not have to replace windows. But the point is that we asked them, called them, they looked at the notes, and they specifically said new windows. So we were able to put in our notes that we do not have new windows. We don't think the jump in the value is fair. And so that went to our advantage. So Judy did say you can call them.
You can call and ask
specifically
questions.
ask, what is it about this property? Why did it jump? What was appraised? What new information was given as to why it jumped? So tracking from year to year in a spreadsheet is super key because you can track these notes. You can track what they're looking for. And that way you can have a better case based on the information they have. So you just know what they have and you're able to bring something different.
Yeah. And so that alone, just like keeping track, like we said, whether it's what I put in there and then what are they saying I did to my property.
That I didn't do.
Yeah, that I didn't do. But that helps you keep track, especially if you've got more than one property. So
yeah. So tell us a little bit about what she said about how they evaluate that market value. Aside from driving by, what are some of the factors that they put in to determine your market value?
So they use kind of the same thing that realtors do, but a little bit more advanced technology, and kind of the same way as what a lot of tax protest companies use. There's a specific format and program that they use to assess this value. They don't put a ton of thought into it. It really has more to do with kind of a square footage thing, and then what are their limitations on these properties based on their exemptions. So on homestead properties, they're not supposed to go up more than 10%. On non-homestead, though, guess what?
They can go up.
They can go up further than that.
Is there a cap on that?
Not that I know of.
Okay, because I was under the impression it was a 20% cap on non, but I could be wrong about that. So something to note that the capped value that you're seeing, it does depend on the type of property, something to consider.
Yep.
So that's under the owner's role is what they were talking about, right? If
Yes.
it's homestead versus
If it's homestead, yeah.
Perfect. So what are some of the questions that you should be asking the county appraisal district? And I think one of them we covered was, how is the property value determined? That's huge. That's going to be the number one thing that you can
ask them and then take notes so that you can dispute.
Yeah. And then Judy had also mentioned that depreciation and conformity. So you can ask why depreciation wasn't considered, because sometimes they don't. Actually, I've never seen them really consider much of that in any of the values.
Any of the values.
And then how does the property compare to the others in the area? And I think that's when you start to see that they're kind of not doing it based on anything outside of their models. So just know that you have a lot of power here and that you have a lot of leeway, and it's not just a set in stone thing.
And this year in particular, just know that it's a lot easier. Like in last year, I lost several of my disputes and I was not happy about it because I did a lot of preparation for that. And that had to do with the market, because the market was so freaking crazy, that they were like, look, we know it's going up and you're going to pay a higher price. And so therefore they were kind of in a non-negotiable state. Whereas now things are a little different and they're like, oh, okay, we're going to go ahead and give that to you.
Right. And that kind of goes into play as why it's so important to do every year. The market shifts, the opinions shift. A lot of factors can come into play. You're going to see it go all over the place. We had several properties we were looking at this year where they didn't budge. We actually protested lower. They didn't budge for the last few years, but we took depreciation into account. We hadn't put anything additional. And so sometimes if you see that it's not budging over years, don't be scared to ask for lower anyway. That's actually something you can do. And we did it on several. Now, stay tuned because I don't know how it's going to turn out.
We shall see.
But we are considering depreciation in some of those that we haven't had a chance, in properties from slum landlords, things like that, that we haven't really gotten to over the years. So,
and something you might want to consider as far as depreciation goes, if you are unfamiliar with kind of what those depreciation price points might look like, or how do you calculate that into your argument, contact your insurance agent. Your insurance agent is a wonderful resource for this. I mean, God knows
I would have never thought of an insurance agent.
Well, because they deal with depreciation and whenever they do payouts for any type of insurance claims. So They know what they have calculations of what the depreciation looks like. If you haven't gotten your roof done in 15 years, they know what the depreciation on that roof is.
That's good.
So those are things that you can contact your insurance company for.
Yeah, another resource might be also looking up replacement costs or build costs of certain things. So I know that there's standard spreadsheets that you can go out there, indexes that like, a pool is so much money, or, what's the average cost to upgrade or do something differently, which also tell you what additional value it brings to the house, and just something to play with and consider for future protests. If you ever do fix those things or add those things, you'll just basically sound more sophisticated in front of the county appraisal district, and you'll just make a better case.
And then I would say that one of the things you want to make sure that you do, and I know we mentioned this in the previous episode, just remember that your panel of people that you're talking to on this board, they're just regular people. They don't know what the prices of a rebuild are. They don't know how much it costs to completely renovate a new bathroom. They don't know how much it costs to do that retaining wall or whatever it is that you need done to your house. It is really key to get those bids. There are a lot of platforms out there that you can use to get bids, that will calculate things based on like insurance pricing and things like that. They'll put together kind of a bid for you so you can present that bid as evidence, or you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's to their help desk and say, look, this is what I'm looking for based on what other houses have that you're being compared to, and ask them to put together a bid for you. Those bids will be substantially, like they hold a lot of weight whenever you're in front of that board, because that puts a dollar amount to the repairs and remodels needed for your house.
Yes, those are all really good resources, and
Yeah.
all of them will work. I would say one of the other striking things that Judy mentioned was how emotionally upset people come into these hearings. They're
Yeah.
already coming in upset, flustered, frustrated, angry. And remember, it's all a sales skill here. And if you have the compelling evidence, don't come in that way. Just understand that it's negotiable and it's open. And I think that she was kind of implying that can kind of sway things, or it can make them not want to work with you. So just
Kill
be
them with
careful.
kindness. Kill them with
They are your friends.
Yes.
They are going to save you money if you do this right.
Yeah.
So just a note on your emotional state, and just know that you have the power at the end of the day to do this. I think those are some of the biggest points that she had made. It's kind of an underutilized perspective.
Yeah.
When they're coming in.
A
And that's
lot of
something
people.
they-
I literally saw people hot in the waiting room, like just, I cannot believe this. They're wanting to strike up conversations, get more heated before they go in. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. So kind of to summarize, you're in a stage now, if you did protest, where you're waiting for that value to come back. So in the meantime, go ahead and prepare this stuff. It doesn't hurt. It's just good to have on your properties. It's a good index and marker of the condition at this time, and it's always good to use in the future years. So you might not have to use this. They might come back with the value you originally requested. This is just the next step in the event that they don't, and what you have to do and be prepared to do. That hearing is going to be the final step.
The hearing, you can protest that too, but it will cost you. So
might not be worth it.
It may not be worth it, depending on
Your
what
time
they're
and
willing to
energy.
get. Yeah.
So
But also make sure that you upload all of this evidence, because you need to present it to them prior to your hearing. So it doesn't matter if you're going in person or if you're doing it online. All of that, all of your evidence is what they call it, whether it's pictures, it's bids, it's a combination of all of the above. Then you want to upload all of that evidence at least 3 to 4 days prior to your hearing.
And one final note I'd like to make is, don't miss your hearing.
No.
Hey, if something comes up, reschedule it. They will accommodate you and will work with you. But if you forget to do it, you just lost a year of protesting down, and that percentage could make or break you in the following year. So just be mindful of your timing. Don't brush it off, and make sure you can reschedule if you can't make it.
And do it every year.
Every single year. Downplay.
Hopefully.
Do less.
Yeah.
Why not? You have nothing to lose. They might split the difference. They might not. And learn your sales skills. Good for everybody.
And if you have any questions or anything like that, or even just some insight on your own protest, be sure to leave us some comments. Let us know how this has helped or what's worked for you. I mean, we love to share this information with everybody. So we would love to hear from y'all, and be sure to follow all of the stuff, Maverick Minded Realtors, YouTube. What are we? What YouTube?
I don't.
Instagram? We're on this stuff. Just look at all that.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. We hope this helps. Stay tuned for future episodes to give you tips and tricks on how to navigate this market, be successful, and rise above the competition. We'll see you next time.